Today we have a delicious topic, which is whether you're allowed to pray and daven and make bakashas on Shabbos Kodesh. One of the fascinating shaylas, I actually heard someone ask this question many years ago. His wife was on the way to give birth on Shabbos, and there was actually a preemie. They realized it was going to be a preemie, and the question was, do you say Tfilas Haderech? So a person is getting into the car. Usually also it could be an element of sakana, of danger, not just because of the fact that it's the actual, let's say he's going a distant, outside of the perimeters of the city, but just the fact that it's a matzav of sakana. Do you say Tfilas Haderech on Shabbos or not? Fascinating shayla. And the shaylas and shulas B'Tzela Chochma, B'Tzela Stern from Melbourne, he actually has a tshuva on this. So we'll get to it. What's really this question depends on? The shayla of asking for your needs on Shabbos is really not explicit. There's different sources, Yerushalmi, there's a Magen Avraham, there's different sources how it's learned out. But the main shayla is, and it's really a chakira, you have to analyze. We do know, I think most people know, you're not supposed to make requests on Shabbos. So question if you're allowed to do it even on Rosh Hashanah that comes out on Shabbos. What about Yontif, by Yom Kippur? Seems like we're making many requests. But not only that, on Shabbos we make requests. Let's say Hashem Elokeinu Ba'am Chesed Tzilosim She'ei. Famous Shaila the Aruch HaShulchan says, is why you're allowed to have Birkas HaChodesh. Once a month we do Birkas HaChodesh, Yiratzon, and we're making all these requests. So why that? The Aruch HaShulchan says it's very difficult. But the question is, what does it depend on? So part of the chakira, we'll call it it's a lamda shechakira. What's the reason why you're not allowed to make requests on Shabbos? So one way of looking at it is that it's taking away from the kavod and the oneg of Shabbos. If you're going to start thinking about the people that are sick, and you're going to think about your job, and you're going to think about the minus in the bank account and the bills, and you say, Hashem, help me, then Shabbos is going to be like another week, it's like a weekday. So the pain itself is something that you don't want to have on Shabbos. That's one possibility. The other way to look at it, it's not because of the pain. It's because of the fact that just like you have a concept of dabel dava, your speech has to be different than it is during the week. Can't speak the same way. Ad kedei kach, the Yerushalmi says that you shouldn't speak Lashon HaKodesh, and best if you don't say anything. That's what they were tzaddikim, and really it's not so crazy if someone's able to, and his wife's okay, and the kids are okay, and the shul's okay, but only speak what's necessary in Shabbos. It's so holy. It's a little bit of a concept that's not so known. But that's the question. If everyone got the question, so then we could try to bring different proofs. But that's the question. Is it because of the pain that I'm experiencing on Shabbos by asking for these things? And the nafkamina obviously will be if, like, say, you enjoy it, or someone says, I need it for therapy. The Rabbi Akiva cried when he sang Shiur. He read Shiur, he probably sang it, right? And he was crying. The Taz discusses how is he allowed to cry on Shabbos. Not allowed to cry on Shabbos. Elamai says, no, that wasn't the type of crying of sadness. It's a crying of yearning. That's the best therapy in the world. So that's all part of the question. Someone's going to say, if I'm not going to speak about this, and I'm not going to cry to Hashem about it, then I'm going to be in pain. I'm going to need my therapist. This is instead of therapy. Someone wants to do his boididus. What, you're going to tell me he can't do his boididus? I'll tell you, Breslov Chassid, you're not skipping Shabbos. Rav Nachman didn't say you could skip Shabbos. Every day you got to do an hour of his boididus. So there's so many facets to this topic, and there are sources, believe it or not, in both directions. There's a Midrash Tanchuma, actually before that, there's a Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara in Shabbos says, Tanu Rabbanan, Hanichnas Avakas Achele. A person goes to visit a person that's sick, he says, Shabbos imilizoik urefua koiva lavoy. Not supposed to say the regular refuah shalema. You say Shabbos imilizoik urefua koiva lavoy. The word milizoik is a very strange word. Once explained, and I saw someone else explains this, that it's not that you're saying the simple understanding is you're not allowed to say for Shalema. So what is this, a trick? Shabbos imilizoik, I'm not really allowed to say, but the four is coming. No, the pshat is that you're giving chizuk to the person that's sick by telling him, Shabbos, I don't need to cry out. It's removed from crying out. You know why? Because Shabbos itself is going to bring the refuah. Shabbos itself is going to call out refuah. It's a moedik yesod. But the pashut pshat is Shabbos imilizoik. There's like a language that we change from what we normally do. So the Gemara says different languages. Amokim mirachem alecha v'al chol Yisrael. And he says, "Bekoishi tiru lenachem." The same thing in nichem avelim. You're allowed to do nichem avelim, but not mamish nichem avelim. You say Shabbos imil lenachem and nechama koi v'lavoy. Indirectly, you're telling him that nechama is going to come. There's a midrash Tanchuma that says that at the moitze, how many brachas do we daven on Shabbos? 7. Really, it should be 18 or 19 the way we have it today with Lamanshinim. He says, really, at the moitze shmoneh mispalim b'chol yom. The first 3 and the last 3 are the praise of Hashem. The others are requests. Listen to these words. Why can't you say a regular Shmoneh Esrei? Because a person is going to get to Rafeinu and he's going to remember that someone's sick and he's going to be pained. V'Shabbos nitna l'Yisrael lekedusha, le'oineg, le'menucha, ve'loy le'tzar. What an incredible Midrash Tanchuma. The Midrash Tanchuma seems to be saying clearly the first tzad, that the reason why you're not supposed to say all the different requests is because you should not get depressed. You should be happy. You should be enjoying yourself. And thinking about these things is going to put a person in a sadness. That's why people don't realize you're not supposed to share information of what's going on in Israel or whatever it is, unless there's a real benefit, a real toelis. We'll see that maybe there's a reason why you may be able to, if there's a danger that's imminent, and therefore everyone's going to have to say Tehillim. So we'll see. For example, but before we get to that, I just want to show you the other tzad. The other tzad is, there's a Yerushalmi that says, Tani, Asur litva tzocha b'Shabbos. Rabbi Zeira, this is one of the main sources. You're not allowed to make your requests of what you need on Shabbos. Rabbi Zeira shal Rabbi Chia Barba Ma'u Meimar, can you say, Ra'enu parneseinu? Our shepherd, please sustain us. Don't we say that in benching? Ra'enu parneseinu v'chalkeleinu v'arvicheinu. So you are making requests in benching. So how did we just started with a whole discussion about the fact you can't make any requests. And every Shabbos we make plenty of requests for our parnasa. So the Shalmi says, Omalei toifes brochas kachen. It's the standard language of the blessings, and therefore you're allowed to. So what does that mean? One explanation to that is that something that you're so used to saying, unfortunately, doesn't have the same awakening. It's something unusual that's going to make a person suddenly become emotional and pain. The fact that he says, I wish we would have kavana. I wish we'd have kavana. But that's why it's called Teifes HaBracha. The Midrash says explicitly. So it's interesting. It's a Midrash Tanchuma against a Midrash Rabbah. The Midrash Rabbah says, Mimtzah chevtzecha, where you're supposed to not be busy with seeking your desires. Mikan also the Adam litboya tzracha b'Shabbos. That from here we learn that you're not allowed to make requests for your needs on Shabbos. Rab Zeira boy kumed Rabbi Yechia bar Abba Omelan Yilen Da'amon Reinu Zeni Parnasei b'Shabbos Ma'u. So he gave him the same answer. You allowed to say Reinu Parnaseinu? So what do you see from here? That it seems to be that the reason why you're not allowed to make requests is because of the language itself. It's like v'dabel davar, it's mitzvah chevtzecha. So which one is it? Is it because you're not supposed to feel it and it's going to keep you in pain? Or is it because of the fact that your language should be different? And as I mentioned, there's many nafkaminas. If someone tells you, for example, that he's not going to have he's going to be happy making these requests. So that's basically the shaila. Another interesting nafkamina, and this is something that I've been asked many times, is these requests, what is included in the list? What happens if a person says, I want to finish Shas? Well, you can't ask Hashem to finish Shas. I want to get closer to Hashem. And what happens by the fact, first of all, every Shabbos we say Mishabechs for the people that are sick. So technically speaking, The people that are sick are really people that are mamish in danger. Stam achoyles she'en b'sakana. Someone has, his wife got up with a headache. So the husband comes, his wife says, "Don't forget me by Mishabeach." Doesn't work that way. Why not? So the B'tzalach Chachma explains, and really this is what some of the Achronim explain also, is that really these both concepts are working together. It's really one. There's a concept that you should not be in pain on Shabbos. You should be in a state of enjoyment. You know why? Because Shabbos is me'ein olam haba. It's a training for the world to come. And once the Nasi Rishalm quotes the Stan Rebbe, the Rav Nikalin, Scheiner Racha. He said that if someone is not training themselves to be misanik, to indulge and enjoy and have delight on Shabbos, then he's going to be a bench in Olam Haba. Doesn't sound very good. The way I always understood that, it sounds like the guys on the basketball team. There's the guys that star, and they're the ones that play, and then there's the bench warmers. Never get schmack to be a bench warmer. I'm sorry, it's not. Maybe they'll tell you, the bench warmers, oh, we love it. We love it. But trust me, they want to be on the court. When I just got married, so my wife's, I think, great aunt, we went to visit her. So she asked my wife, what does your husband do? So my wife said he's singing kola. Beginning when I got married, I was maybe 1 or 2 years maybe in kola, and I was already teaching. But so she said, she was like more very European. She goes, bench warmer. Bench warmer. I was like, what is she talking about? Bench warmers in basketball. I'm not a bench warmer. But I remember Kalina Rebbe says, you don't want to be a bench warmer. You want to be so excited on Shabbos, and because of that delight that you're experiencing on Shabbos, the reward is going to be more delight in the world to come. Because that's your achana. So the one aspect of Shabbos is don't allow to be in pain, and therefore don't make requests that are not timely. But if something is timely, there's 2 reasons why you have to. Number 1 is because it's imminent. I got to take care of it. Number 2, the pain of not reacting to that trouble is also going to put a person in pain. Now, Moshe, for example, unfortunately this happened already too many times, when news came that in Israel there's a war that broke out, or that Iran's attacking, whatever the situation is, you say Tehillim. You get to say Tehillim. Not only that, you could even say Avinu Malkeinu, because at this point it's imminent. You got to daven. A person's on his deathbed. That's when you daven. It's an imminent, and that's why it says if it's a lachachma gevaldik, someone is traveling. He wants to know if he should say Tfilas Adech. Of course he should say Tfilas Adech, because right now the Metzias is that he needs to daven. If it's something, basically the parameters are, the gather is, if it's something that you can wait till after Shabbos, why are you doing it now? It must be something that's timely that you're allowed to. Number 2 is that, again, you see that really both these concepts are working together. Shabbos Kodesh on the one hand, like we said, has to be that it's so enjoyable. Number 2 is that our words themselves have to be chosen differently. The words themselves have an effect. The way I see it also is that what you speak about, we all know, the way a person speaks is really an expression of who they are. Words are coming from the soul. It says in the pasuk in Shir HaShirim, right? Nafshi yatzai b'dabroi. My soul comes out with words. Why? Because the dibur is the connection, speech, Maral explains, is the connection between the soul and the body. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, his connection was so fat, it was so disconnected to some degree. That's when the Maral explains that he was kvad peh. He had a difficulty speaking. So this is the yesod of Shabbos. And when a person connects to this concept, so then Shabbos becomes the real delight. And then, based on what we're learning, that's why you could say Tfilas Adech. And that's why you could be on have a Shabbos and be so geschmack with Avi Weinberg, because Mimele, once you tap into this koyach, Shabbos is different. Kesh koyach, everyone. I had to get you in Torah anytime. Now,